along the same lines of regulatory aspects of Bitcoin. So Brazil is gearing up for a bill for Bitcoin approval. So although this bill is not mentioning Bitcoin as legal tender, it's giving the Brazilian president authority to decide which government entity will oversee the regulatory framework around Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So the president will kind of have the option now to create either a new regulatory body or assign the oversight to the Central Bank of Brazil. So, did you catch this story, and what did you think about, I guess governments now kind of deciding whether or not to create a regulatory body based on digital currencies, or do you think that they should kind of, give it into more of these legacy systems and just kind of force them to figure it out?
Yeah, so I'd seen the headlines for this, and when I looked a little bit more into it, I thought it was more of like a pro Bitcoin bill. But then when I started the deeper I got into it, it really does seem like it's a little bit more hands off, and almost sounds to some extent similar to the executive order that Biden signed. And basically, it's a hey, we need to look into this and make sure somebody is responsible for any regulations we want going forward. But it's not very specific as to how he wants to regulate it or what they want to do with it. It's more like, let's try and figure out where this fits. So maybe it's good that it's at least like recognizing that this is a thing and it's going to be here and it'll be around for a long time. It might be good from that perspective, but since I didn't at least see any very specific regulations that were being mentioned, I don't know if it'll be good for it or not. It could come in and be way too heavy-handed regulation, or it could be good in the sense that they just say something like, well, we're going to treat it as property. And I think something like that, and just treating it as sort of a more legacy system, I think would be best for Bitcoin. I probably do think that, like, when it comes to like corporate issued tokens, that falls more into a legacy system that like the SEC would need to look into, and it, in a lot of cases, it is sort of like those companies are issuing shares. So I think maybe in some of those cases there should be a bit more regulation. But when it comes to Bitcoin, I think it needs to be very, very hands off, or as hands off as possible. But it needs to be treated as property, because if people steal it or something happens to it, like, it needs to be acknowledged as like that is a thing. Because in the early days of Bitcoin, I'm sure if you tried to call the police and say, hey, like and they would just look at you like you're crazy. Like, I don't know what that is. That you're lying to me, man. And like that I don't know what you're talking about. And so I think it needs to be acknowledged to some extent, absolutely, but not over regulated, or especially like banned or put into special categories where only certain people can use it, or regulations around like the whole hosted versus unhosted wallet argument. I mean, I think that's ridiculous. Everyone should be able to create their own wallet and hold their keys. And so I think there's a potential for over regulating, but I'm not sure what Brazil is going to end up doing.